Coming up on this episode of Tom Talks Rubbish.
That's when I kind of decided, you know what? I think I'm gonna work for myself. And I'm a strong believer, Tom. Things happen for a reason.
Oh,
If,
definitely.
if that didn't happen for me, I wouldn't be here. And I'm so glad that happened because it kind of pushed me into a corner and it was kind of sink or swim.
What's going on, guys? It's your boy, Tom Talks Rubbish, and stand back with another interview. This time, I'm joined by the one and only Ajaz, the people's broker from the Gone Too Soon series on Wrestling Life with the one and only Benville. So, welcome to the show, my friend.
Tom, thank you for having me on the show. It's a real privilege and honor to be invited to be a guest on this show. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to talking some rubbish with Tom, or as I like to call it, trash.
Everybody does that now. It's like Ben, to peel the curtain back, Ben's been saying maybe I should change to TTR, things like that for a few years, but it's like, nope, Tom Talks Rubbish is the gimmick now, and I'm quite happy with it.
No, I think it's a great name. It's a great title. Yeah, it's really nice, very catchy.
I really appreciate that, my friend. But as we kick this off, I want to know, AJ, where do you first discover wrestling as an overall fan?
Ooh, so I think I've been a wrestling fan for probably longer than I can remember,
Hmm.
I would say. So the memories I have as a child, so I'll give you a little bit of background. As a child, I was born and brought up my early years in Pakistan.
Hmm.
I didn't move to America till the mid 90s when I was about 15 years old. So in those days, living in Pakistan, there was only one TV station up until I think 1990 or 91. And they would put on wrestling every Friday afternoon.
Hmm.
And I remember watching it with my dad, with my uncles, and it kind of became like a tradition. So we would all kind of get together because Fridays used to be like a holiday, a weekend, and we would all get together. We'll all have a meal together, and then in the afternoon, wrestling would come on. So we'll all sit around the TV and watch wrestling together, and that's those are my kind of memories of early wrestling when I first started watching it.
Was this like WWF wrestling, or was this like specifically Pakistan wrestling? If that makes
There
sense.
was no Pakistan wrestling, but obviously it was all American stuff. So we didn't have a choice. They just put on whatever. They would put on something different every week. So from memory, I think they would put on like I think all American wrestling or something like that. It was called. I remember the entrance, the start of the show. Like there'll be like American flags going and fireworks and all that sort of stuff. Sometimes I think they would put on like NWA. I didn't quite discover WWF until I think one day I was at my one of my uncle's house and he had gotten the tape for WrestleMania 3
Mm.
and I saw the match Andre Hogan and that sight and that was the moment I think that made me fall in love with wrestling and I became a lifelong wrestling fan and then watching Hogan body slam Andre. Uh, so that's when I kind of discovered WWF, but WWF wasn't shown on TV.
Mm.
So we had to rent like videotapes of special like pay-per-views and stuff like that. They didn't start showing WWF on TV until maybe like 1990 or 91 when a second TV channel got launched and they would show it every week on a Friday. So I remember that.
What was sort of your first? You talk about waiting for the second TV channel there. What was sort of your first WWF memory that you remember? Like, yeah, I watched that live.
So I think again, when they started showing WWF, it was like very they used to just have random matches, so it wasn't like a weekly TV show, so I didn't understand storylines or anything like that growing up. But then again, things were like developing in the communication thing. So I know one of my cousins, they got like satellite dish, and they would get like the latest channels, and they would show Superstars or Saturday Night Live or like something like that. I would catch it at their home, and then I was like, this is very different to what I'm watching. Okay, this is more fast forward. This is more current. Okay, so these guys are feuding and this kind of stuff. So that's what I remember. But as far as like the wrestlers, I remember the tag team scene. I used to love the tag teams in those times,
Mm.
like the Hart Foundation, the British Bulldogs, the Legion of Doom, the Rockers, and my all-time favorite Demolition. They were just my favorite. Some badasses coming and just beating the crap out of people. That's what I remember. And then Ultimate Warrior and all these guys. So yeah, those are kind of the memories I have.
How did your you mentioned sort of the late 80s, early 90s there. How did your fandom sort of change as the WWF got more adult sort of thing?
More dull, did you say?
Adult, should I say?
Adult.
Like,
Okay, yeah, like
especially
Attitude
the
Era. Well,
sort of,
I kind of grew up with the product, you could say. So, I mean, it was still very PG, I think, until 95, 96. It was kind of like 97 when it started to hit that, cross that line. So I think I started university in sort of late 97, 98.
mm,
So I was kind of an adult, you could say. So I could watch whatever the hell I wanted. Um, but yeah, I think my parents were a bit protective of me, like sort of as it was kind of transitioning. They kind of, I mean, as all parents do, they don't want you to be exposed to any kind of wrong stuff. And as the wrestling was getting quite violent, and obviously some adult stories and things like that. They were a bit protective of it. And a lot of the stuff, to be honest with you, when I was initially came across it, I didn't really understand it.
mm.
So I didn't really know a lot of those things. So, but yeah, it was a bit different experience.
As you go back now as sort of a more seasoned adult, shall we say, and you go back and watch it, do you understand why your parents were so protective?
Yeah, I totally get it. I don't think I can watch that product now. I wouldn't watch it with my son. I wouldn't watch it even with my dad, and I always watch wrestling with my dad. So a lot of that stuff was quite uncomfortable watching it with my dad. I remember, like, sort of, I think this was like early 2000s, maybe or late 90s. Some of the stuff they were putting out, yeah, it was a bit uncomfortable. And even right now, watching some of those storylines, the way the women were being portrayed and the lines were being crossed and things like that. I would find it a bit uncomfortable. But those days, we just loved it. We were crazy for it.
So you're not one of those fans that's like, bring back the Attitude Era, everything was better back then, sort of thing.
No, I think that was that time. It had that shock value at that time. Attitude Era was great. So my experience of Attitude Era, I mean, I lived the Monday Night Wars like
Mm.
anybody, from like I was at university from like 98 to 2001, 2002 in America, and it was the Monday Night Wars. And you kind of had to pick because both shows were on head to head at the same time. So you had to pick either Raw or Nitro. And I had always been a WWF guy, loyal fan from day one. So I was like, I'm watching Raw. And the streets used to be empty. Like everybody was watching wrestling,
Oh, wow.
on college campuses. Like even when you go to the gym on a Monday night, the gym used to be dead because guys were like watching wrestling. Because I mean, in those days, remember, it's like 4 or 5 million people were watching wrestling
Mm.
on a Monday night, which is ridiculous. So I lived that era and I enjoyed it. And so it was that great experience. And usually your college days, as people say, are your one of your best times, of your life. And college life in America is totally different, very
Mm.
enjoyable. You got new friends and things like that. And then on top of that, wrestling was at the highest level. So it was good back then. I don't think Attitude Era would do that great now, even though they may try it, but I don't think it will fly these days.
Mm-hmm. You brought up America there and things like that. Did college or university, as we call it, take you to America, or were you already living there, sort of thing?
So I moved to America in sort of 95, I think 95, 96 it was when I moved to America for studies mainly.
Mm,
And then kind of went and lived. I started studying at the university and moved kind of on my own. This is sort of the thing in America. Like you turn 18, you move on your own, you get your own apartment, all that type of stuff, get a job. And that was the type of thing. So it gave me a bit more kind of freedom with wrestling, basically, and watching it.
mm. So I probably should have asked you this beforehand. Are you in America now, sort of thing?
No, I'm in London now.
I
So,
forgot
but I
that.
kept the
I thought we
accent.
was recording at like 10:30, 5:30 your time in the morning. Now. I was about to feel
I know,
really
very
bad.
dedicated, right? I've come on to do this podcast. It's 2 a.m. in the morning.
I was about to feel really bad.
You're like, Ash, you look pretty awake for 2 a.m. in the morning. Lots of coffee.
It's quite funny. So you talk about moving to the UK there, and things like that. So you've obviously traveled a lot. What brought you to the UK, my friend?
So UK initially, I moved to the UK about 20 years ago. I came here to do my higher studies, do my master's. Just wanted to experience something different. Like I said, I love traveling. I love experiencing new cultures and new places. So I came here to do my studies. I finished my studies. Um, Plan was to go back some point in time, but ended up started working here, and then soon after ended up meeting my wife, and we bought a house together. We had kids, and then that's it. Life is here now. I'm glad. I'm thankful for everything. And yeah, I think I'm very happy and very content. I'm very happy here.
That's really, really cool, my friend. So you talk about being happy here and things like that. Obviously, you watch wrestling in America. So we in the UK have to watch it at very, very silly times if we want to watch it live. So how did moving to the UK change your fandom if you were still a fan at that point?
So initially it was a bit tough because again, it was at that gap because there was no wrestling. So I was always checking it online just to keep up with the product and what was happening. It was a bit frustrating. The day I think I landed in the UK was the day WrestleMania 20 was taking
Oh,
place. So that was the day I landed in the UK. And I don't know. I was in my head. I'm thinking, yeah, I'm excited to go to the UK, but in my head, I'm thinking, will I get to watch WrestleMania? Is there a way I can watch it or something? But wasn't to be. Obviously, found the results and stuff like that, but I was trying to sort it out, and then it kind of like there was that gap, and I didn't know what was happening in wrestling. I would hear it from people. Obviously, social media wasn't really a big thing then.
mm,
Internet still, not a big thing. So there was a little bit of a gap there. And then I think a few years later, then I was able to kind of get more settled here, got my own place, and then like, okay, get, obviously cable TV. But yeah, it was a bit tough trying to like watch it in the morning. There was no like sort of streaming services either, so it's not like you could watch it the next day or something like that. But I think because I was such a big fan, especially for like pay-per-views and stuff, and the product was good in those days, like 2005, 2006, I'm talking, that I would stay up and watch pay-per-views sort of late in the night. And but then on like sort of Sky, they used to show Raw and SmackDown, I think, at different times.
yeah,
It would
yeah.
have recaps and things like that. So you knew exactly what was happening. But I tried to catch it live as much as I could, being a really hardcore fan. But then after a while, it got a bit tough.
It sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, there's not really a big gap in your fandom. You might have stopped watching, but you've always checked results and things like that. So what's kept you motivated, even in these dark times of being a wrestling fan? So
I'll be honest with you, Tom. I don't really watch any TV. So there's when it comes to entertainment, I don't really consume anything else. The only thing I make time for is wrestling,
Mm,
and I've always made time for it. Um, because it's the only form of entertainment I kind of consume,
mm.
and just shows like, it's like one of those childhood things. I know a lot of people I talk to and I run into it when I talk to them. Everybody used to watch wrestling when they were a kid.
Oh yeah.
Everybody talks about it. So there's something you can really connect with people my age. Oh yeah, I remember Macho Man. I remember, oh, my favorite was Jake the Snake or something like that. But I just don't know. I always was captivated by some kind of character or somebody, just keeping up with it. I don't know. It's just that love, I guess, for the sport, basically, that just always kept me hooked on it.
That's really, really cool, man. You talk about your love for the sport and things like that. How did it change when this is sort of a two-part linked question? How did your fandom sort of change when WCW went out of business and the um, the competition was gone, for lack of a better phrase? And then how did it reappear with AEW? Because I know from talking to Ben and yourselves, AEW sort of brought you both back.
Yeah. So I would say last 20, 25 years, 20 years, I would say, my fandom has been kind of a bit of a up and down curve, bit of a roller coaster. So after WCW died, I mean, I was a loyal WWF guy, so I didn't really care about WCW. Um, I used to catch it when something big was happening. I was caught up with the story. I mean, I love the competition,
Mm.
and I love the fact when a lot of the WCW guys used to jump to WWF and they started doing that sort of in the late 90s and stuff. And that was the exciting thing. But when WCW went out of business, I was like, okay. But then at the same time, okay, WWF has bought WCW, so we're gonna see these fantasy matches come to
Yeah.
life. And I remember this. This was, I think, used to be like sort of late 90s. There used to be this magazine. I always used to kind of read it at the newsstands and stuff. I think it was Wrestling Sports Illustrated or something. I can't remember the name. But they always used to have a top 10 list every month of top 10 wrestlers from WWF and top 10 wrestlers from WCW. And in my head, I used to fantasy book who's going to win, who's going to win. And one time they even did an issue of doing a head to head between WCW and WWF. So that was my thinking. That's what got me excited. But when obviously the whole invasion thing, the debacle, the poor
Oh
stuff
yeah.
they did, that wasn't that great. But then it was exciting to see some of the guys started showing up, especially when NWO came back to WWF in 2002. That was exciting. But then I think that summer I stopped watching wrestling
Mm-hmm.
because just the bad booking. I mean, after that WrestleMania was amazing. I still
18, I
remember.
believe, right, with Rock Hogan.
Yeah, so I remember that match like yesterday. I remember that's the fondest memory. So I watched that match at a local bar,
Mm.
and when Rock Hogan came on, anybody was watching this match at the bar. Like you looked at people, you're like, these people are not wrestling fans. What do they know about wrestling? But they were standing there watching this match from start to finish. Kind of ruined my experience a little bit as well because there was so much noise and they were talking, so I couldn't hear the TV.
Mm.
But after that WrestleMania, when the way it was hot shot booking, I think they put the title on Hogan, then he dropped it to Undertaker, and then Stone Cold left, and all these things. So that summer, I stopped watching wrestling. Um, I just wasn't enjoying it. NWO got killed, and then it's just, I mean, there was some stars, coming in. Obviously, they were building. John Cena was new, I think, Edge and stuff like that. So I was kind of like losing it. I wasn't so invested in it at the time. And then the product started getting so stale. I
Mm.
started to lose, and a lot of the guys started leaving. Stone Cold was gone, Rock was gone, Batista was gone soon. I used to love Batista. Um, and then I started to look for some alternatives. It was hard to watch the product. So I discovered TNA. I was
Mm.
enjoying TNA wrestling. A lot of the guys started going there. Main roster, I was still kind of watching the pay-per-views and stuff, but sort of when Raw went 3 hours, what, 2012, 2013,
Mhm.
that was it for me. Then it became quite hard for me to watch. So I stopped watching um, WWE at the time, the main roster. Just couldn't watch it. It was just really boring. Like every show would start with a 45-minute promo in the ring, and I just couldn't sit through it. And
Oh, I
uh,
remember those days. Definitely.
and then I started to discover things like ROH and stuff like that. And to be honest with you, my love for wrestling was dying, but it was really the NXT Black and Gold in
Mm.
2015 that brought me back to wrestling. And I still to this day feel when someone asks me, I think NXT Black and Gold 2015 to 2018, probably the greatest era of wrestling that was.
Mm.
You had 1 hour a week TV, and you had these amazing takeovers every 6 to 8 weeks, 2.5 hour shows. The best wrestling, basically. And then again, kind of with NXT, they started to kill it. A lot of the stars I fell in love with and I was invested in when they started going to the main roster. I was like, okay, I can watch the main roster now. All my good guys from NXT are going to do great things there. But then they started
Oh
burying them.
no. Oh no, the optimism.
So, yeah, thank God for AEW then for coming along. And, I'm still a fan.
You talk about there, thank God for AEW. Where do you think your fandom would be, Ash, if AEW never came along?
I don't know, to be honest with you, because even right now, I try and check back on WWE. Like I was keeping up in the news, but WWE is something totally different to what we have known and loved. I just cannot get invested in any characters, but I don't know if it's because I've been away from it for so long.
Hmm.
They keep bringing back these old school guys. So obviously when Goldberg came back in 2016 versus Brock, okay, I was excited for that. I watched it. I watched his recent retirement match just to see because Goldberg is like the guy from those
Oh yeah.
glory days for us. Um, so I don't know where my fandom would be. I'd probably be. I'm just glad I'm kind of creating content now for wrestling and talking about wrestling to people like you, and kind of reliving. And this is why I love the work I'm doing with Ben Veal and Wrestling Life, Gone Too Soon series,
Thank you for that beautiful segue, my friend.
where we relive our childhood memory and we honor the memory of a lot of these great legends from our childhood who were taken away too soon. So we just honor their legacy. We kind of talk about them and celebrate them.
Thank you for that beautiful segue, Ash. Because I was just gonna, you could tell this man's done podcasting for a while. I'm not gonna lie. So you brought up the great man that is Benville, someone that I consider a mentor, someone that's been always very good to me, and things like that. So how do you guys first connect and things like that?
So me and Ben kind of connected sort of back end of 2024 through a common connection. We connected on social media actually. And then we just started talking. I think he had seen some of my stuff as we had a common connection. And then one day he said, "Let's jump on a Zoom call and chat." And we jumped on a Zoom call and chat. And it was kind of like love at first sight type of thing. Like we shared so much with each other and our fandom and our background, even our journey as business, like
Mm.
how he started his company 5 years ago when he was let go from his job. I had started my company 5 years ago. I was let go from my job, how we survived through, the COVID times and all these things. And then it was fine. We were just talking and things like that. And then a few months later, he said to me, I would like to do this series with you. Do you want to come on board and be my co-host? And it just sounded unreal. I mean, something I always wanted to do, but I didn't think I had what it take, to do something like that. I've just always been a fan. I've never been on this side of the business. So I was like, wow, yeah, let's do it. So that's how we kind of like connected and kind of like got the show going and stuff.
You talk about your similar origin stories to Ben within business and things like that. For people that may not know, because obviously I want to promote you as much as I can as well. What is your business? What do you do, sort of thing?
So I work in finance. I've been in finance for over 15 years, worked in various roles and stuff like that. I started my own company after I got let go from my last job late 2019. Very cutthroat kind of experience it was, very sort of heartless way, the way they let me go. And that's when I kind of decided, you know what, I think I'm gonna work for myself. And I'm a strong believer, Tom, things happen for a reason.
Oh,
If
definitely.
if that didn't happen for me, I wouldn't be here. And I'm so glad that happened because it kind of pushed me into a corner and it was kind of sink or swim. And even when I launched my company in January of 2020, I didn't know what was going to happen, what was ahead in 2 months' time, that
Mm.
the world is going to lock down and we couldn't walk out our front door. So that was an experience, a lot of sleepless
Oh yeah.
nights. We just had our second child in lockdown. But I'm the type of guy, Tom, always try and find a positive in a negative, and I always feel there's always opportunity in everything. And
Mm.
what that period allowed me to do is something I always wanted to do. I always wanted to launch my YouTube channel because I'm a strong advocate of education and
Mm.
educating people. And my biggest passion was educating people about everyday money matters and finance in sort of the simple term and easy to understand. And
Mm.
that's what I started doing. I started the YouTube channel and I started creating these videos explaining complicated topics in sort of the layman's terms because finance is something no one likes talking about, and it is because it can be kind of overwhelming.
Yeah.
So I got on that mission and it got me to do that. And I'm so glad, it happened the way it did.
I'm curious to talk about this for a second. Talk about finance being complicated and things like that. Do you think, and this is a bit of a political question, so things like that. Do you think finance should be? Because I remember my sister telling me as she left school this year, she's like, I don't know how to pay for this. I don't know how to. Do you think more life skills and finances should be taught in schools, essentially?
So again, I'm great. That's a great segue, actually. So another one of my passions, and I started working on it and researching it, is education for kids about money from an early age.
Mm.
And this is something I started researching, and I found out because I don't know the educational system in this country. I didn't do early education here, so I started talking to my wife and I started talking to friends, and they're like, not really. I'm like, are they taught about money? Are they taught about how to use what is a credit report, how to get a mortgage, things like
Not
that?
at
Because
all. When I was at school, definitely not. Sorry,
because
man.
I had this experience. So when I started college in America, I mean, money is taught some level in high school, not so much. So when I went to college, I didn't know how anything worked. I was just handed. They were just handing out credit cards, to students and stuff. And I didn't know how credit cards work, so I worked myself in bad debt. It took me
Oh
many years
wow.
to come out of it. So I didn't want any of the kids going into this kind of getting into this issue because that can ruin your life.
Mm.
So I made it my passion, started doing research, and luckily for the last 3 years, I've been working with an organization called the London Career Hubs. And
Mm.
what I do, I go into local schools and colleges and I talk to kids about money, how money works, how important it is to look after your credit, how a mortgage works, and like the real life stuff. Because no matter what job you do, whatever profession you do, money is that thread that
Mm.
keeps everybody together. It is the most important thing. So if you don't understand about this, how are you going to survive? So I'm glad I've been able to do that. And I go and I love working and talking to students now and educating them about, money.
That's really, really cool. You talk about educating students there, because I did some research on you, obviously, for this episode, and I love what you do and things like that. So, what are some, if I was to say to you, your one big tip for someone like me who lives on their own, doesn't really have any sort of, pays his rent, things like that, doesn't sort of have any overheads, things like that. What is your advice for someone like me?
It just depends what your goals are, what you want to accomplish from your finance. I mean, one tip I always give to anybody, regardless, look after your credit. Don't take your credit and your credit file for granted, and always check your credit file. Don't just assume that everything is fine because, you know, but credit is so important. So credit is people feel like, oh, I need to have good credit because I want to get a mortgage or I want to get a credit card or a loan. No, because a lot of times when you apply for certain jobs, they check your credit history
Yeah.
and credit score. Even when you want to go and rent a place, they will check your credit score. So your credit is so important. Also, another thing, having no credit is worse than having bad credit because some people say, "Oh,
Really?
I've never taken a loan, I've never got a credit card, never done this, so I'm fine." But that means you have no credit history. So be responsible. There's a way of doing things. Like I said, if you go on to my channel, I always share, Ash's top 5 tips on various things. So you can find a video on there pretty much any finance topic and other topics. I think there's more than 500 videos on the channel now. There's a lot of shorts and things, but that's sort of the general advice I'll have for people. Like, look after your credit.
What about people who have disposable income and they're like, I really want to start a podcast. I really want to get an editor. I really want to maybe pay for some guests and things like that. What would your advice be for creators and using money to sort of not succeed, but sort of make their podcast better, if that makes sense?
Again, when it comes to podcasting, I'm a newbie to this, but I would say, like any business, is treating it like any business. So it's like your business. You want to grow as a business. Again, depends what your ambitions are. If you want to be on that big stage and become, do your research first. What will work for you? Don't just throw money at things. Do the research. If you think doing some smart marketing will help you, getting some high profile guests will help you. And then you kind of just you have to weigh up, like, okay, it's like reward based on like spending. So if I spend on this, what kind of reward am I getting? Um, don't be too conservative either. Sometimes you have to take a bit of risk as well, but it's kind of just weighing up your options, doing the research. And as you say, what you put in is what you get out. So initially, yeah, you're going to have to invest. You're going to have to invest your time. You're going to have to invest a little bit of money. Think of creative ways. Maybe speak to other creators who have done well and done well for themselves and making big. Maybe, ask them for help how they do it. So I think research and connecting with the right people. I think having a good network of people is also very important.
Well, you talked about a good network of people there and things like that. To go back to Gone Too Soon with wrestling, how has connecting with Ben and things like that maybe given you more opportunities within the wrestling space, if you've had any?
Yeah, so it's something totally different for me because obviously people have always known me as the finance guy and doing finance videos and things like that. And now they're seeing, okay, he's doing wrestling, but it's a way of connecting with them on that kind of a level and the demographic, which is our similar age. Definitely, the stuff is now starting to get noticed. I think we've recorded, I think 5 or 6 episodes now for the show, so it's starting to pick up, and the response has been so amazing for the type of stuff, the content we're putting out. Um, I mean, me and you connected, and that's why I'm here talking to you. So it's created that opportunity. There's few other people who've kind of approached me, who've seen the stuff that I'm doing with Ben, and other general stuff that I do. I mean, who's to say? I mean, recently, it's a bit of a spoilers, but recently me and Ben, we recorded a podcast. We had Brian Clark on the show,
Oh
um,
wow.
Adam Bomb. I mean, I wouldn't have dreamt it. Like someone I was like watching as a kid, and I'm sitting sharing a podcast with
It
him.
might that podcast because I backlogged for a while might have gone up by the time, so you might not be spoiling it if that makes.
No, so it's so that was a really good one. So yeah, and then I've connected with the guys who obviously Brian Clark is doing the podcast with it. He does like a really interesting podcast, this game show that he does,
Mm.
the Meltdown, if you've seen that. So I've connected with Tom, who's on the show with him, the
Oh
host.
yeah.
So I think it's just when people see and you're doing good stuff and you're a genuine person, if you're a good, humble, grateful, genuine person, you will meet good people
Mm.
and you will go further.
This is a bit of a self-indulgent question, but when I sent you that message, did you know who I was, or did you have to ask Ben, like, who the hell is this?
I had seen your stuff because I know we were connected. So I used to see like some of your stories and things like that. I didn't ask Ben. I just read the story, and I think you had sent me a link to a recent interview you had
Right,
done.
Zane, I
So I'm
believe.
like, okay, let me check this guy out, see what it's about. And I watched it and I loved it. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. And I watched other episodes and everyone you've been doing, I've been watching it, hearing people's fandom stories. And I'm like, that's really, really cool. And what's interesting is how much common, like, this is what I love about things like when it comes to art, like wrestling or music or film or whatever, how it connects people from different parts of the world. I mean, I'm this kid born and growing up in Pakistan. English wasn't my first language. And then there's a kid on the other side of the globe, somewhere else, and wrestling kind of brings us
Oh
together.
yeah,
How me and you are talking here, how I've connected with Ben and other people. And that's what I kind of love about it.
that's really, really cool, man. Yeah, that was a very self-indulgent question. And I do apologize.
It's all good. It's all good.
So you talk about the connecting with Ben, and we spoke a lot about him today. Before we get into sort of the first episode and things like that, what is something Ben might have taught you about podcasting or creation sort of thing?
A lot. I've learned so much from the guy. The guy's a pro, basically. So I'm always taking everything. Um, I'm always conscious when it comes to creating content. Even when I was creating my YouTube channel, before I put out the first video, creating that first video took me a month. That's how much of a perfectionist
Oh
I am.
wow.
So the first video I did it with the green screen. I did, with all these things, and I was editing it for so long. I wanted to get a thumbnail right. So I did a lot of research in it. So when Ben told me to come on this, I kind of like was picking his brains. I was like, listen, man, I need it. I need to look good on this, because you only get one chance to make that impression.
Mm,
And you're always learning. So I learned about, how your sound quality has to be. So again, I went and invested in a microphone before we even started
mm,
recording. Lighting has to be good. The room you're in, kind of like, your backdrop and, things like that. Also just learning. I mean, the very first one we recorded, I was so nervous. I didn't know. I was like, am I going to end up saying something wrong? I don't want to say this or I don't want to say that. But credit to Ben. He's such a legend, the guy. He made me feel so comfortable. He's so welcoming, such a good friend now. And I've learned so much from the guy, and I continue learning every time we record together.
obviously, you and Ben, your thing is about deceased wrestlers and things like that. What has been the episode that you're like, okay, mate, I'm gonna struggle with this one because I was such a big fan of this person?
I would say the episode we recorded, the second episode, which was Razor Ramon
Mm,
episode, I I had been the biggest Razor Ramon fan since I was a kid. That's what I remember as a kid watching wrestling. And I know he had his troubles in his life and he had his demons and he struggled with, with substance abuse and things like that. And the other thing was I'm glad I got to meet him as well.
Oh
So
wow.
if you're able to catch it in the back, I've got the
Yeah,
picture in the
yeah.
back with Razor. And this was kind of like last minute. So this was in 2019. I was sitting at home one Friday and I see this ad pop up on Facebook, like a Razor Ramon is coming to Liverpool for the love of wrestling. I'm like, man, I have got to go see Razor Ramon. I don't know if I'm going to get this kind of opportunity. So I booked the ticket for it was the next day, the event, booked the ticket, booked the train, everything. I was on this early train, made it, and I got to meet the man, got to shake his hand, take a picture with him, talk to him. And then he passed away a couple of years later,
Mm.
which was again so, so sad. But just talking about him, talking about the experience and the memories, struggles he had, how great of a star he could have been if he didn't have those troubles. Someone a bit underrated as well was never a world champion. So I think talking about Razor, his legacy, just remembering things, I kind of struggled with that. Um, and another one, which we recently recorded, which you will see soon, was the Bray Wyatt episode.
Oh wow.
I really got choked up about it, especially even when I was doing the research and living the man's career. And I'm like, man, this guy accomplished so much in such short time, and what a huge loss he is to the
Mm.
wrestling industry. He was a generational talent, honestly, Tom.
Mm,
He doesn't get
definitely.
enough credit. And I feel like he was another one of those guys who always got buried and kind of used. So I really struggled with that episode as well, you know.
I think about Bray because obviously with the health struggles he had, I don't think he would have wrestled again, even if he'd survived what he went through. But like his mind, can you imagine him as a producer and things like that, or even a film producer and things like that? He would have just been. He's sorely missed. I'll put it that way.
I mean, so you'll hear a lot of our thoughts when you catch this episode. It's going to come out soon, and I do talk about we do talk about a lot of that kind of stuff. Just kind of fantasy booking what the world would be like if Bray Wyatt was still with us, and what would he be? What would wrestling world be like if he became a producer, or we fantasy book if we went to AEW or something like that? Because I feel like he was kind of still kind of held back in WWE, and he couldn't perform to
Mm.
the level of his characters that he had. Because I feel like he was Bray Wyatt's character was existed in the wrong era and in the wrong company. I
Mm.
feel if Bray Wyatt had existed maybe in the Attitude Era or the current day AEW, it would have been so much more greater. But still,
I
the
think he
impact the
would have
man has
done really
made.
well in TNA, like specifically broken Matt Hardy era of TNA. I think he would have done really well in that point.
Exactly. I mean, even them together in WWE, they did quite interesting stuff. If you remember their rivalry and then them
Oh
coming
yeah,
together as tag team champs and stuff. But yeah, I think it would have been interesting to see, or maybe New Japan. Who knows? He could have done some crazy stuff in
wow!
New Japan. He would have been great over there.
I didn't expect that to go in that direction. You guys just basically got what a me being on an episode of Gone Too Soon would be like. I'm not gonna lie. Uh, so
We're
you talk about
plugging, plugging heavy here.
Oh, I have to. Ben's a really good friend of mine. I have to, man. So you talk about there. Obviously, we talk about wrestlers that you've covered and got emotion. Do you and Ben have a wrestler? Because you're very similar. I can imagine you have very similar ideas for episodes where you're both like, "Yeah, that's too tragic. We're not going to touch that," and things like that.
I mean, the thing is like anybody gone too soon is tragic. But we don't focus too much on the tragic part of stuff. We don't focus too much on the death and things like that because it's been talked about by so many other people. We focus on this podcast on their legacy and we celebrate
Mm.
their career more. We don't focus too much on the tragic part. It's been done to death by many people talking about conspiracies and how it happened, blah, blah, blah. That we don't focus on that. We kind of just touch it at the end, bit of a somber note, but we just celebrate and enjoy the career and the great things because too many people focus on the tragic part and the tragic end. We focus on the great things and the great things this guy did and how he started and how he changed the business. And that's what the podcast is all about.
That's really, really cool, man. How do you deal with burnout as a creator, my friend? Because like you do it all. You do the finance stuff, you do the stuff with Ben, things like this. How do you deal with burnout as a creator?
Yeah, I'm kind of feeling it these days, actually, right now, burnout. So that's why I'm looking forward to my 2 week holiday. And you talk about burnout. I mean, this podcast I'm recording with you, this is my third podcast in 5 days,
Oh
which is
wow.
I've never done that
Sorry.
before. And I'm going to be recording some videos for my channel tomorrow because I'm bulk recording because I'm away in August.
Mm,
And I always try and bulk record. I mean, it's really hard to, I'm not going to lie, Tom, it's really hard to juggle things, especially when you've got a business to run. You got young family because I'm there for them, pickups, drop-offs. I am a hardcore gym goer without fail every other day. I'm in the gym
mm,
creating content, this stuff that I've taken on with Ben. So people always ask me, like, how do you do it, Ash? You're doing
mm,
too much. How is it? And I said, you know what? It's all about discipline. If you're
mm,
disciplined, you can do anything you want. If you love sleep too much, I still get good sleep. Like I sleep about 7 hours a day.
mm.
I get my 7, 8 hours. I just don't waste a lot of time on wasteful content and wasteful things, just flicking through videos or reels and things like that.
Yeah, you don't strike me as a TikTok user, like a TikTok scroller.
I'm not. I am on TikTok. I just post my stuff and I exit. And then I just sometimes go back and check how did that video do. That's it. I never kind of like flick through, but it's easily done. Sometimes it's easily done. So I've put in a lot of controls for myself with social media. I've set like well-being limits on the apps like Instagram and Facebook and things like that. So my phone prompts me when that limit is reached.
Mm,
And that's it, because it can easily be done. You could be sitting there, and before you know it, oh my God, where where did the time go?
mm.
But I think we all face burnout, but I think if we are disciplined, we can hack it.
The biggest thing I did, and I'm talking about myself, I do apologize, man. The
It's
biggest
okay.
thing
It's your show. It's Tom Talks Rubbish. We want to hear Tom talk some rubbish.
the biggest thing I did when I moved into my own flat was I took all social media off my phone
Good.
because when I didn't have like people to talk to, because I lived at my mum's before I lived here, I just found myself like doom scrolling and like you'd go, oh, I had something to do tonight. Oh, it's 11 o'clock now. Do you know what I mean? So the biggest thing I did, like, that's why sometimes it takes me a little while to like get back to you, get back to people, because it's like, it's all on my computer. So it has to be when I'm free. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I did that. I took off the apps from the front, the widgets. I took them off, but still I was going in and I was using it.
Oh, you
So
have to
now
actually go in. They're not like on your homepage sort of thing.
they're not on the homepage, so you have to go into the phone and get it. And even now, even then, it was getting out of control. So I'm like, I need to set some limits. And one of my really close friends, he's got the same issue. So he lives on his own in a flat and he has been struggling. So I told him about this. I'm like, dude, you got to do this. You got to try it. He's been trying to do it with self-control, but then he's like, it's so hard. Like, you're alone, you're just sitting there and, you just,
Honestly, that's why I do stuff like this
yeah,
because A, it's a bit of social interaction, but B, it's fun.
absolutely. And a lot of the stuff on social media now, I don't know, it can have real impact on your mental health and your
Oh yeah.
mental well-being. Um, Especially a lot of stuff going around. around in the world and seeing that on social media. I mean, I'm not saying completely turn a blind eye to it and just be ignorant to it. You know, we got to know what's happening
Mm.
and we got to appreciate ourselves and where we are. But yeah, social media, it's a drug, I think. So I made this comment recently that and there's a big debate about social media and usage for kids and things like that. And
Hmm.
I say social media should be treated for kids. Social media should be treated like alcohol and cigarettes. We don't let kids drink and smoke till they're young adults. Maybe we need to put similar controls on social media. I know it's a very controversial
I
comment I'm
think
making
the
here.
problem is, I think we used to, but then a lot of kids are too smart for that stuff now. Like they know how to get around stuff like that. Do you know what I mean?
It's down to the parent, I think. And I face that sometimes. So my son, he's 8. He is he is into his YouTube. That's his drug, and he's mega into Minecraft and watching these shows and like these things. And I'm always monitoring. I'm like, okay. I mean, he's a big wrestling fan now too for the last couple of years. So we watch wrestling together. So I'm passing it on to the next
Oh,
generation.
the next generation. I love that.
It's a great. I mean, I borrowed those action figures from him actually for this display. Um, he so we enjoy it together. We're going to be going to the show at the O2, the AEW show next month.
No.
Forbidden Door. We're looking forward to it. We were at the very first All In, and he was that was his first live event, and he was just I'm like, what a way, kid. You are so privileged. Your first
Mm.
big wrestling event is at Wembley Stadium, you kid. So I'm monitoring. So I think there's a lot of parental responsibility. Us parents need to be more responsible, and we need to protect our children. That's what I believe in.
I fully agree with you there, man. What is your advice, Ash, for people that maybe want to get into podcasting about wrestling like you did and things like that? So, what is your advice? Because obviously you started working with Ben and things like that. Do you have any advice for people?
I say, man, if you want to do it, just do it. Stop sitting there thinking about it. You know, don't think, oh, there's so many people doing it. Why am I going to do it? But then think of doing something different. Don't be like anybody else who just turns on a camera, you know, offer something unique, something different, make it look a bit more professional. So when I first started my YouTube, I was researching a lot of the similar content other people were doing. And I wasn't impressed with some of the stuff I saw. Some of the guys were doing next level stuff, but then other people were doing like crap stuff. Like they were sitting with a dirty wall behind them or
Hmm.
paint coming off, or, I don't know, maybe that's purposely they chose that setting, but very unprofessional, not dressed well, and things like that. And I'm like, okay, this is how I'm going to do it. I'm throwing my hat in the ring. And I noticed you got to find that niche. Like I found my niche with the YouTube that nobody's doing finance
Hmm.
short videos, like 1 minute, 2 minutes, and talking about complicated topics in a simple way. So again, anything, whether it be finance, whether it be wrestling, if you want to do it, go do it. Make a plan. Don't just sit there and procrastinating. Like I said, COVID was a way blessing for me because he gave me the time and opportunity to
Yeah.
start the YouTube channel. So let's not wait for another event, pandemic to happen. Go do it. There's enough hours in the day. When people say I don't have enough time, I never accept that. There's 24 hours in the day. Even if you sleep 6 hours a day, that's 18 hours. Write down exactly what you do throughout the day, and you'll notice there's so many gaps in your day. Why not do this? I mean, I was noticing recently there was a gap in my day, and you easily then turn to social media, right? So I'm like, what am I going to do? So I started
Exactly.
learning a new language on Duolingo. I'm like, okay, that's how I'm going to utilize my time now. I'm going to spend 15 to 20 minutes a day learning a new language. So it's a fun way of spending your time.
What language are you currently learning, man?
I'm actually learning Turkish right now. So I love going to Turkey for holidays, my favorite holiday destination. I go every year. Istanbul is my favorite city in the world and favorite destination. I highly, highly recommend people going who love history and learning about, things like that and appreciate architecture. So that's why I'm learning Turkish.
That's really
So
cool.
nice.
Oh, it is really cool, man. As we look at wrapping this up, because believe it or not, we've been talking almost an hour, and I do want to,
Really?
yeah, and I do want to be respectful of your time. So, like, I'm curious to talk about this. How do you define success, first of all, Ash? And do you view your sort of Gone Too Soon series with Ben as a success?
So success, everybody has different definitions. Some people may say, oh, success is maybe a lot of views, a lot of subscribers, and things like that. I don't define success that way. For me, success is if I'm doing right by people and I'm doing the right thing, that's what makes me feel good and happy. And if I am improving and I am learning as a person, then to me, that's success. Because every experience, everything we do, even me and you talking here today, I've learned something from it today, and I can apply that in another part of my life, in my business, or something like that. To me, that is success. So people try and I think overcomplicate success a lot of the times with money or assets or things like that. To me, this is success because I'm sitting here talking about something I love and I've loved for the last how many ever decades. So yeah, that's my understanding and my feelings about success.
What about do you view your sort of podcast, Gone Too Soon with Ben, as a success?
I think it's a success because feedback has been great from people. Through this podcast, the biggest success is I found a new good friend. So it's a success because I didn't know Ben about a year ago. And now working with him, knowing him, um, it's great to make that connection. And I definitely think it's a success. And we're just touching the surface. There's a lot to do, a lot to come.
That's really, really cool. What do you think your legacy will be as a creator, whether it be in wrestling or the finance community, when it's all said and done for you?
I think what I want my legacy to be is when people watch my content, again, they learn something and they benefit. It's not just waste of some time or just another content or just something random. I want them to kind of learn. I want them to get inspired. I want them to get motivated because, honestly, I come from very humble beginnings.
Mm,
There's a lot like my childhood was a really tough childhood. I don't talk about it to a lot of people, but I struggled growing up as a kid with my health and
mm,
things like that. But I overcame that with time and with fortune. So my biggest thing always is to people, and I do this thing called Monday Motivation on my YouTube
mm,
channel and social media. My biggest thing is, you know, stay humble and be grateful. Those are the two things, and that's what I want to be remembered by, and that's what I want my legacy to be. And just inspiring people to do good, be a good person, help each other out. Um, you know, we may sit here, we think, oh, I want this, I want that. But when you really kind of rewind back and look at yourself, you're like, I have so much more than that person over there.
mm.
I can help them out, you know? And it's not always about money. When people talk, I'm a big advocate of charity. When it comes to charity, people think, oh, it's always about money. I don't have enough money. You can be charitable with your time. You can be charitable with education. And this is what I want kind of my legacy to be that the education I give people and the knowledge I share with people, it kind of lives on and it benefits people.
That's a beautiful way to end this, if I'm honest, Ash. But before we do, we are going to do the classic wrap up segment in Tom Talk Flourish, known as generic wrestling questions.
All right.
Those of you that have seen my interviews before will know where I'll ask Ash his favourite match, favourite pay per view card, such as Double or Nothing 2019. For example, favourite wrestler's entrance team, favourite tag team, and favourite wrestler. Basically, the questions I assume you might be asked on social media. So now you'll have a place to be like, guys, I've answered this. Please go watch this. So, what's your favourite match of all time?
Ooh, it's a tough one. There's been so many amazing matches. But if I had to just pick one, I would have to say WrestleMania 10, Razor Ramon versus Shawn Michaels ladder match for the Intercontinental title.
Why does that one speak to you as a fan, my friend?
So as a kid watching that WrestleMania, it was a great card. But it was unique. I had never seen a ladder match in my life before, and Razor Ramon was one of my favorites. Shawn Michaels, I also loved as a kid, and then watching them come together and put on a show, just doing crazy stuff with the ladder and all these things, and it was just something new, and I can always go back and watch that match and enjoy it.
That's really, really cool. What about your favorite overall pay per view card, my friend?
That's going to be a real tough one. It's going to have to be like maybe one of the takeovers or something like that. I think I went to the takeover they did in London. Um, I really enjoyed that card. I don't know if it was because I was watching it live, but obviously it had some great matches. It had obviously Samoa Joe versus
Finn
Finn
Balor.
Balor, which was a great that Finn Balor entrance and the match overall. It was great. The tag team match was really good. So I think I'm gonna be biased and name that one because I love the black and gold era of NXT.
That's really, really cool. What about your favorite wrestler's entrance theme?
Ooh, okay. I love the Bret Hart theme, the guitar. So I always loved Bret Hart's theme. Razor Ramon's theme was really cool. The screeching of the child. It's like it's happening. Um, it's a real tough one, but I think if I had to really choose one, it's a toss up between Batista and Edge.
Mm,
I'm gonna go with Batista, the theme by Saliva, I think it is, and that's an amazing. It's on my gym playlist.
it's on mine as well.
I love that song, and every time you can't help it, like you're listening to it and you just want to do, the
Oh,
Batista
yeah.
entrance and stuff in your head. I love that song.
That's really, really cool. We spoke about them a bit earlier, Ash, but who is your favorite overall tag team?
Tag team, I think I'm gonna have to go with Demolition. They were in an era, probably the greatest era for tag team wrestling, and I named a few of them earlier, and their rivalries they had with the Hart Foundation and Legion of Doom. They were just different. They were just a badass team, and I loved watching their matches. So I'm gonna have to say Demolition.
That's really, really cool. And then finally, Ash, again, we spoke about him a lot today, but the biggest generic question, in my opinion, who is your favorite overall wrestler of all time?
So again, my obviously it kind of changes era to era. So as a kid, obviously loved Brett, and obviously in the Attitude Era, it was The Rock. Then obviously, I loved Batista. I'm a huge Bryan Danielson fan. I love Adam Cole. I think he is amazing and phenomenal. And I'm really sad and I wish him well and I'm praying for his health and I hope I get to see him again wrestle. I got to meet him a couple of years ago as well. Overall, if I had to pick one, I'm going to go with Razor Ramon.
Mm,
My favorite childhood wrestler. Got to meet him. Just amazing. He was just an amazing. He was just $1 million. The guy was. He walked out the curtain. That music, the swagger, everything about him. And even before his debut, watching all those vignettes and his promos and things, he was a perfect wrestler for me.
That's really, really cool. And another beautiful way to end this, my friend. But as we do, Ash, the question I end this show on is I believe as YouTubers, podcasters, even just people with social media, my friend, we're all sort of going to live forever in a very, very strange way if you think about the world. So, what is one piece of content from your good self you're like, I'd like to be remembered for that? And then what is one that you're like, nah, I'm good. You can forget that.
Uh, so I think again, like I say, the educational piece. That's what I want to be remembered by. Um, the content I'm putting out there, but I think the content I really want to be remembered by is the Monday motivation piece that I go out. So it goes out on all social media, goes out on YouTube. And all I'm trying to do with the Monday motivation is just bring a smile on someone's face. So if someone having a bad day, someone's having a bad morning, who can kind of watch it and pick themselves up and be motivated from it, or just in general. So I think the Monday motivation I'm really proud of, and I definitely want that to be remembered by. Um, what I maybe don't want to remember, I don't think I've created anything like that yet, and I don't think I will because I am so conscious about putting stuff out on social
Yeah,
media. Even the stories, the type of pictures or anything, I'm so conscious. And I am hoping there's never anything I put out. So nothing yet. Nothing yet too embarrassing.
that's really, really cool, my friend. But as we wrap this up, Ash, obviously I want to say thank you for a great conversation. But please promote yourself. Where can the good people find you, your work, etc.?
You can find me on YouTube. So check out The People's Broker on YouTube. The channel is there with all the information. You can see me on Wrestling Life with Ben Veal. We do a monthly podcast, Gone Too Soon, where we relive the legacy and celebrate our childhood heroes, our wrestling heroes who we lost too soon. And then you can connect with me if you like on social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I've recently now gone on X as well after much, influence from other people. So yeah, come connect. But yeah, give the channel a subscribe. Check out Gone Too Soon. We're doing some good work there.
It's well worth doing, guys. One of the nicest and humblest and hardworking people in this space. But what I just said, one of the nicest as well. So if you guys like this, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Tom Talks Rubbish on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter at Tom Talks Rubbish, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye now.
Thanks for watching this Tom Talks Rubbish conversation. Before you go, please make sure you leave a like on the video, share it around, and subscribe to Tom Talks Rubbish on YouTube, as well as follow Tom Talks Rubbish on Twitter/X.